You're flying with Pod Squadron Podquest. Podquest?
Yeah!
Start off to a great start. Pod Squadron Podcast. All wings report in. This is Andy. Pod Piper standing by.
Oh, that's a good one. I'm just always Pod Tracer. This is Tracy, aka Pod Tracer, standing by.
All right. Philvik Aesthetic, the resident Padawan, standing by.
Jason, Children of a Lesser Pod, standing by. I'm always going to use
that. All ships to attack formation. Mission objectives to talk about the Star Wars in movies, streaming, animation, books, themed experiences, and your art and inspiration from the galaxy far, far away. Today's flight plan includes the Book of Boba Fett, Chapter 4, The Gathering Storm. And our special guest today is Travis Williams, who is here joining us from the Tech Nubians to talk about his own Star Wars fandom and Star Wars gaming. And for all of you out there, all comm channels are open. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Find us on YouTube, like and subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you know when we have new content. But first, I'll be your squad leader for today. I'm Andy Lowe, a.k.a. the Chinese Pirate, director, storyteller, puppeteer, performer, and fight choreographer. On my wing is Tracy.
Hi, I'm Tracy, also known as Hot Nerd Girl, and I do like vlogging and nerdery and social media things and just an all-around nerdy girl.
And on my other wing is Lexi.
Hi guys, Feral Geek Aesthetic. I do geek and nerd adjacent culture. If it's geeky and nerdy in some other part of a culture, I love it.
And holding our rear flank is Jason.
Hey, Jason, filmmaker, nerd, collector, and tired.
And we are just one squad in the fleet. We're part of the Geekish Network. That's right here on YouTube or on Facebook, the Geekish Network. And all us foils to attack position. We're going in. First of all, thank you for joining us. We have made a shift. So this is our new time. Will be here on Mondays at 6:30 every week. And this is for all of you East Coasters out there. That's 9:30 Eastern Time for all of you. And what is it, Central Time, Lexi?
Oh, damn. What is it? What time is it?
7:30?
7:30. It's 7:30. I have equal problems with goats either way.
And we haven't quite figured out what island time is yet. Probably, what is it, for about 4 years? 4 hours?
Wait. So wait, if it's 6:30 Pacific, 6:30, 5:30, 3:30 island time?
3:30. That sounds about right.
Late afternoon island time. Late afternoon island time.
Hey! I like to think that we're 4 years into our pod quest.
There we go. To our pod quest. Yes, indeed. It's been a long day. I have been dealing with finances all day. But
oh boy.
I'm here. I'm talking about Star Wars, and we are joined by a guest here from the Geekish Network family. Welcome to Travis. Travis of the Tech Nubians. Hello, Travis.
What's going on? What's going
exciting.
Rarefied air with you guys.
Yeah, so I mean, just kind of give us a little introduction of who you are, what your background is, and what is your connection to Star Wars.
Well, my name is Travis Williams. I'm a nerd, geek, game maker, designer, writer. I, started being a professional nerd at 18, where I did pen and paper RPG design, actually. And I've been in the business of making games ever since. Star Wars is one of those intellectual properties that means a lot to me, like a lot. I mean, so much so, I actually turned down a job to work on Star Wars because Star Wars meant that much to me. So,
something you can talk about, or something you cannot talk about?
Well, so because I know games, and because at some point, if you work in games, you're going to be connected to some sort of big media, some intellectual property.
Yeah.
And so that was me all my career, whether or not it was DC Comics or Marvel Comics or something like that. Just knowing intellectual properties. And really the start of that was Star Wars. Like it was just what you knew as a kid. And because I had that experience in Star Wars world building, in to the highest degree, I was able to actually take that skill and apply it, professionally. And so when I got the opportunity to actually interview for a position where I was basically the head producer in charge of all Star Wars things online, was around the time when episode 2 came out.
Oh, wow.
And I did not enjoy episode 1. And I did not enjoy episode 2. And, but I love Star Wars. And when the job was offered to me, I was just like, yeah, I thought I wanted this. But if this is the new Star Wars, it's a hard pass.
Oh.
Yeah, no, it's sad though, right?
So, okay, let me ask you this. A lot of people have found as they've gotten older, they have warmed up to the prequels a little bit, or they acknowledge that, they are not made well, but there are elements of story and design that they appreciate. Are you in that camp, or is it still kind of like the beginning of the end for you?
Well, I mean, if you think about this, right? I mean, let's really contextualize this.
Yeah.
Like if you love something since you were 6, like lived it, breathed it.
Yeah.
Right. And would sometimes stay up at night going, oh my gosh, what if I die before a new Star Wars movie comes out? Right? Like that's
a legitimate thing. That's a legitimate thing. I had a friend who passed away before one of the movies came out, died. So
yeah. And it's crazy, right? And so that was me. And I just being able to separate myself, as a fan is one thing, but when you are actually there and participating, that makes you responsible, right? And I would have just been like, no, this is not good. And there's no amount of money that you can pay me to crush my dreams. I just, I couldn't do it.
Well, cool.
Did you like the Clone Wars then, or did you not like the Clone Wars either, or not even interested in the Clone Wars?
Oh no, I'm not that fan. I do like, I do like the Clone Wars. I think the Clone Wars started off a little rocky, right? Because I wasn't about it, actually until like the 3rd season or something like that. My friends were like, you should watch it. I'm like, nah, man, Star Wars, man, it's just deep wounds. Can't do it. Can't do it. And can't do it. And then, when the Clone Wars began, like, and then it had the guy who, and I'm like, oh, why are they doing that? Like, why, and it yeah. And it felt like to me, like I was really aging out of Star Wars. And that was frightening. But I stuck with it, and I do like Clone Wars.
Right on. Well, let's get into the latest bit of Star Wars that we have today. We're talking about the Book of Boba Fett, Chapter 4, The Gathering Storm. This is the latest episode that premiered last week on Disney+. Having suffered the loss of his Tusken tribe, Boba Fett wanders the deserts of Tatooine, identifying his ship, the Slave One, a fire spray gunship held in Jabba's palace. He recruits the help of Fennec Shand, recently felled after a confrontation with the Mandalorian Din Djarin. With the Mandalorian Din Djarin. He recruits her to help him retrieve his ship, his armor, and to possibly Think about a new future for the scum and villainy of Tatooine. Back in the present day, Boba Fett has completed his healing cycle in the Bacta tank, and his mind turns to the matters at hand, mustering his forces to prepare for war with the Pikes, which will lead him to allies new and old. Yeah, this was a pretty fun episode, directed by Kevin Tancharin. If any of you know him, he was the director. He directed a number of episodes of Fennec Shand. Honestly, some of the best action episodes in the whole run of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. He was also fairly well known for. There was an online adaptation of Mortal Kombat that starred a number of people, including 7 and 9 actor. What's her name?
What, 7 and 9?
Yeah,
Jerry
Not-
Ryan.
Oh, Jerry Ryan?
yeah, Jerry Ryan
Oh.
was Sonya Blade in that.
I thought you said 7 and 9, like
I
a
didn't know
street
that.
thing. I was like,
I don't know.
You know, on 7th and 9th,
Like
you know. But yeah, what'd you guys think
like
of this
7
episode?
of 9 to me. Yeah, that's why I was like,
So we're for sure clear
That's
that
actually the least
Sarlacc
amount of notes
is
I've
actually
taken.
dead this time, right? Sonic Boom, he's gone. So
Yeah, that was a pretty fun, pretty cool moment.
I guess he forgot his armor had been taken. I was slightly confused on that, or he was just so screwed up from crawling out of it, because it just seemed like that's something he would have recalled. I thought was a little odd, but
I mean, he was pretty passed out when the
Yeah.
job was.
I would
Yeah.
not have remembered that had I been in his state. Tell truth.
if your skin was being burned off by acid.
I mean, there's that too.
I have
Oh,
been at
they
this
burned off
stage
more.
where I have had to go through my phone pictures to figure out where I left my purse. This has not happened to me in almost like 8 years, for which I am thankful, and for which has had a large part in my self-discipline. But you know, and like healthier choices. And
Yeah, I can't.
if I was gonna be eaten by a sarlacc, I might not
Well,
remember
I
at what
did-
point I was disrobed. That's viable to me. Like, I don't fucking remember who did that shit.
I'm not enjoying.
But he did reach out to them and like grab one of their ankles, but that could have been a reflex, right? Because he's so like in
Absolutely.
tune with.
Oh no, it's absolutely a reflex. I know for sure that I have.
that was Boba's walk of shame.
I'm just gonna say
So, am I to understand that you guys are enjoying this?
I'm enjoying the
Oh,
process of. I'm enjoying the process.
I like some episodes more than others. I mean, I do. If you're going to say like you aren't enjoying it, I can totally see why your reasons
It's
are
like,
validated.
okay,
So
it's
yeah,
like-
but
But okay, so it's like asking myself, who has anxiety in crowds, do I like a visit to Disneyland?
Hmm.
I mean, like, I really enjoy certain things about an aspect to a visit to Disneyland, but there are other things that just give me sweaty palms and that I really don't find fun. And I feel like the same thing goes for a lot of these episodes where I'm left with more questions than answers, even though I enjoyed the ride.
Yeah,
Well,
I'll agree with Jason. I think it's been a little hit or miss. I feel like we'll have one episode that like seems to get on track, and another episode that kind of gets off track. I mean, there's definitely pacing issues with the show, and that's something like, you know, I do question the structural element of kind of going back and forth between the flashbacks. Honestly, I mean, particularly now that we've gotten to episode 4, I really kind of wish they did this linearly. And I mean, and I feel like it would have flowed a little better. We would have had a little bit more
yes,
um,
yes.
character
Yes.
momentum. But yeah, no, I mean, there is a certain amount of, I mean, in particular with this episode, like there are action moments that I absolutely loved, like where I'm like, okay, it's firing all cylinders, and then there are scenes that just kind of dragged, and they had important information, but it was like, do we really need a super long montage of Stefan Thundercat Brunner, putting machinery in her belly?
I was discussing with a friend that I feel like this episode almost should have been the first episode.
Yeah.
I mean, because it would have tied more directly to the Mandalorian if that was something that they really wanted to hit right out of the gate, and we would have seen all those missing pieces, and then boom, okay, great. We know where they've been, what they were doing. Now let's get going. Tusken flashback in episode 2, great. And then now what's new? But
I'm relieved that the back to tank is well, hopefully it means the back to tank is going away and all the flashbacks, because I agree with Andy and with you to a degree that it should have been done a little bit more linearly, where we could have seen him get up to this point. Because I enjoy the flashback scenes, I enjoy the present day scenes, but I don't like the back and forth necessarily. It feels weird, and
you don't like
it's, it's
you don't like the lost of it all.
well, it's like sometimes the present day is like 2 minutes and then the rest is flashback, and sometimes the present day is like 3/4 of the show and then the flashback is just like 10 minutes.
I'm with you there. No, absolutely
feels choppy, but I like where the story is going. I'm a little interested in hearing why Travis is not perhaps caring for it as much.
Well, first of all, where is the story going? Okay, like seriously, like and when it gets there, will I even care? Okay,
I have a theory for this.
Okay,
I have a theory for this.
Okay, well, hang on, I got some more questions.
Okay.
Grogu, I cared.
Like,
there was a
why?
space
Like,
infant.
see, you have to understand my history. Like,
Lexi, turn your mic up.
But I bought enough of the toys back in the day to send in my my proof of purchases so I could get a Boba Fett, right? So Boba
with the
Fett
rocket.
Yeah, so Boba Fett was like the PlayStation 5 of my time. You see, and I couldn't get it, right? And so now I'm watching this show about the most badass bounty hunter ever, the one who caught Han Solo, okay? And the baddest character in it is his sidekick. What is going on?
But in his defense,
Right?
he's still healing. In his defense,
he's not even a good like crime boss. Like, he has no flunkies that he can send to go actually do his bidding, and so he could big it up like Jabba did or like Bib did. He's doing, and then last episode he hired the Power Rangers. Like, what the hell is going on?
Moss Vespas.
The whole thing is just like, oh my God, you're killing my childhood. You're killing it.
Were you one of the people who was really upset that when he was surrounded by all the space ninjas, he didn't just rocket out from the middle of all the shields?
Yeah, because that's too much like right? That would only make sense.
Because we know that his rocket's working because it worked during The Mandalorian.
That's where I got confused and felt like maybe we're working by some slightly different universe rules here, and I'm not sure what they are, and I'm not sure if I like them. I mean, I'm not saying I have not had fun. I feel like I've been having to justify too many things.
They're making him more sympathetic, and I don't know if I necessarily agree with that fully, because he is a badass, like Travis said, but he's trying to be like, well, I'm going to rule this area, but I'm going to do it better. I'm going to make everyone gets their dues. And it's like, okay, is that what Boba would have done, or would he have just shot everybody and taken, but no, I follow your thinking, and
how about we send everybody cupcakes,
Look, I would love
I like
Boba Fett turned rational daimyo had they given me a show don't tell rationale for his if it was practical. If it was practical, if they had shown me so far practical action scenes for why he goes, handling things with respect is more economical. If he did some Mando style scenes, which we've seen that was possible, where you're like, I'm gonna protect a child in my back pocket and still be a stone cold badass.
I'm
and I mean
actually-
that's a dynamic that is possible. So because that's possible, why not Boba Fett enact that, but like harder? I don't know. This was a call for it to be fun and gritty, and I
Dur-
think they got the fun and not the gritty.
During this conversation, I have grown to hate it even more.
No. Okay, here's the thing though. If he stayed just the same badass, it would get boring, right? He has to
No,
evolve.
it would not.
Well, look, I like
Okay,
as
all right. If I
character.
defend Tracy, how about this? Okay, no, if he would have stayed badass, it would have got boring. That's why he becomes even more badass. Okay, so no, he doesn't stay the same level of badass. He levels up his badassery. I mean, right now, seriously, who do you think is going to win in a fight, Boba Fett or the Mandalorian? And if it's the Mandalorian, then why? That's messed up. I mean, we've got 40 years into this character. He should be like that dude, and he's not at all.
But I think we're gonna see it in the last. I think the last episode is gonna be like Lord of the Rings Battle of the Five Armies type shit, and I think we're gonna see him ride in on his Rancor, and we're gonna see like the full badassness of Boba Fett.
Tracy, I would love to come back here and prove you
gather
wrong.
Jin to him. He's gonna gather Watch. He's gonna gather the Death Watch to him. Maybe I don't know, like other
Not
characters.
I just don't.
No, Boba's gonna start his own caravan of courage, people. It's gonna happen. Period. Tracy doesn't like Ewok.
Actually, really, I would agree. I would agree with everybody who said that it's a pacing problem. Because I feel like everybody who's been working on this Book of Boba Fett storyline has been trying very hard to humanize a character that in the original, because trust me, since Book of Boba Fett came out, I actually went back and watched all of the originals that had him in it, and he had no fucking personality to speak of. He was just a very cool plot point with really excellent armor and some really cool scenes.
Well, and that mystery is what made people like him so much, right? Because they can
Agreed.
kind of fill in the gaps in their imagination.
Actually, I don't
Well,
get
the
like
gaps that you filled in was the badass part.
Yeah.
When there was a
Personally.
gap, you put badass in there. You see
100%.
what I'm saying? And that's
What
what's not
Travis says.
here. There's
What
no
Travis says.
badass in these gaps. It's
What Travis
nothing.
says.
It's nothing.
Travis said. It's like, as a director, it's no mystery as to why they loved Boba Fett. I have zero. Like, I get why everybody loves Boba Fett, because I always felt, I was like, he's a character I wanted to know more about when I watched the originals. So the thing for me was that this had so many opportunities that it failed to deepen on and kind of went agenda on. Where I've enjoyed the moment to moment work. Like, I went to director school, so like my whole thing is like, I've been enjoying the moment to moment work so much between the performers and like looking at like the how they interact with the sets and the scene, the directors. All that's been really fun for me and really like of great worth.
Here's
And I just see a lot of struggle, as you've said, Travis, with
Here's-
the motivation and those stakes. The stakes
If
have
you-
not been there.
there's a blueprint for Boba Fett. Okay, for me, it's John Wick, right? Like,
Damn, I need to rewatch.
that's legendary, right? When even the criminals are like, man, it's going down. Like, you done woke this dude up, right? And so I don't see why they just didn't follow that formula, right? I'm out of the Sarlacc pit, and boy, am I pissed off, right? And so now I'm going to take it to all of you, okay? And I am going to own this area in Tatooine, right? Look at how grand I am. And instead, it's sort of Keystone Copish, right? And I guess, you know, and it centers around, I guess, my chief fear once again is that I think maybe I'm aging out of Star Wars, because nothing seems to make sense. It all seems to make sense if you're 12.
You know, I mean,
Travis, do you
here's
think
my
you would
thing.
be enjoying it more?
I would say that.
Oh, whoa.
Here's my thing. I mean, one of the things is, and one of the,
Like
the
three
tricky
people
things
talking at
about
once.
trying to take a character that exists in mystery and thrives in mystery, and focus a story around him is that you really do. I mean, you basically have to give up what makes the character cool. Is that mystery, right? If we want to focus on him, then we've got to learn more about him, and ultimately that is ultimately going to shatter, people's kind of expectations. That is something you just, I don't know, that I went into this expecting. The other thing is, right, is that this idea of centering around a character in a franchise that, George Lucas ultimately himself has kind of, his philosophy about what Star Wars is, and what I think Dave Filoni really cares about is that the heart of Star Wars is, is that selfish action gets you nothing. If you center around a selfish character and he continues to be selfish, then he has to have his comeuppance, right? He has to ultimately fail or find unhappiness. And that's the question. Do you do a story about Boba Fett where he continues that ethos and ultimately ends up unhappy at the end of it, or dead or whatnot, right? Because that is kind of the philosophical path of George Lucas. At which point you have this opportunity in going, okay, if Boba Fett has survived the Sarlacc, has almost died for Jabba, and therefore questioning, his entire existence of how many times have I died, almost died. This time I should have died, and I have this opportunity to be reborn and come up with something new. I actually kind of really like this idea, and particularly the monologue that he has there with Fennec of talking about why he wants to take over, why he wants to be a boss and have his own shot. I just wish it happened earlier, and it would have given us kind of more momentum from the beginning of the series.
I understand that, because I think that there is a way to make I'm tired of working for assholes gritty. And I think that for me, the failing has been that I'm tired of working for assholes has not been made as gritty as it possibly could have been.
Yeah, that's fair.
And so that's, for me, that's the crux.
Okay,
is that, yeah, that's it.
So do you think that you would be enjoying it more if he was kind of going John Wick on everybody and was kind of forced to be the leader, like an unwitting leader, but who kind of grows into the position, rather than somebody who sought to seek it out for kind of unknown reasons other than wanting to run things better?
I will bow out of that. I'm a bad nerd. I've not watched all the John Wick.
I just think that everything seems to be very pedestrian. And I would love to watch the movie that Andy described, the series that he described. That is not this. That is not this one.
There's a lot of tell, don't show, and that's what I'm having an issue with. Is they're doing a lot of telling. There's a lot of exposition in a character that has a potential to be very dynamic, and I think it's killing it. I think it's killing. I mean, it's not killing my enjoyment of it, because I can mine enjoyment from. I can mine enjoyment from like a day old like Burger King burger.
But why?
I'm not even joking. Like
but why though?
But
why?
exactly why?
Like, you have to understand, Star Wars built this. Okay, they built all this. Okay, and the thing is that I don't understand why they don't own it more. Right? I mean, it seems like to me that Star Wars is stuck in 1975 or 70. Well, okay, it was 77. But what I mean is their attraction to things that look sort of hokey or look fake. You're Industrial Light and Magic. You're Star Wars, right? Why does this look like it's still sort of a playset? Do better. And I think that they're leaning into this in such a way where it just takes me out when I know you can do better. it's possible to do better in your Star Wars.
I agree.
So I think we do need to wrap up this discussion here. So we have 3 more episodes. We now have a direction. They've presumably ended all the back to tank flashbacks. What are your hopes to see in these last 3 episodes?
Harrison Ford. Sorry, Tracy. I have to. I'm gonna milk that frog.
Fuck Harrison Ford.
Well, Han Solo. I mean, yeah.
I wasn't thinking of it before, but I mean, maybe now we'll get some Mando. That'll be nice.
I think he's gonna come in.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
They played his music at the end,
Yeah.
and then they went into Crimson Dawn music.
Yeah.
Exactly. They tossed that music in very heavy,
Yeah.
like that wasn't even subtle.
Right after she said you can buy muscle. Lexi, point your microphone towards your face. We can barely hear you.
Oh man, no, it is. It's just being. It's either
Okay.
too much or too little. I got to do some better.
That's a little bit
EQing.
better. When you're closer, it's better.
I got to.
But yes.
I got to do some better EQing on this because it's just.
How about you, Travis? Is there anything that you think they could do in the next 3 episodes that could salvage this for you, or is it long gone?
You know, I just, if he rides that Rancor, I'm going to be angry.
Really?
Yeah.
He's gonna ride the Rancor.
Next season.
No,
At
he's gonna
least.
ride the Rancor.
No,
Why
he's
would that
gotta do
be?
it next season? Because you cannot ride a Rancor in one fucking season, man.
Are they doing a second season? Wasn't this supposed to be like a self-contained story?
I
I
don't
just-
know, but now that
No.
they've done that, I feel like they gotta follow up, man.
I know I'm sounding like a big hater of Star Wars. I'm just not. You know, I love Star Wars. I just want to get out of this unscathed, right? Like, you know, I feel like I'm a prisoner to my Star Wars fandom, in that, you know, I will see it. I will try to eke some sort of enjoyment out of it, but it is hard.
The only thing that's so I always say that nobody hates Star Wars like Star Wars fans, and the only thing that's keeping you out of that club for me right now, Travis, is the fact that you like Clone Wars.
All right. Well, let's move on to our next segment, which we'll spend a little bit of time on. So, you know, for Travis comes from the games industry and has a great background in Star Wars game, or in the gaming industry, and in particularly in the world of RPGs and developing you know, fighting games and so forth. You know, one of the things that we have talked about is a topic of how Star Wars, or the challenges of Star Wars storytelling, have challenged video games. And I think it's even you know, something you can arguably say that some video game genres that we now kind of accept as commonplace to this day were birthed because of the needs of Star Wars storytelling, and particularly in the realms of RPGs. You know, I mean, I think back to kind of the early Star Wars games that kind of came out, you know, during what, you know, I think of as the drought of Star Wars content, like, you know, just after Return of the Jedi, and, you know, people are just clamoring for some more Star Wars, and one of the first things that came out was the Dark Forces game. Do you remember that game, Travis?
Of course, I remember that game. First person, you know, shooter, Star Wars game. Absolutely.
I mean, so that was a cool thing, and of course, it definitely took its some hints from like Doom and what am I thinking of? Wolfenstein.
Oh yeah.
But you know, that series kind of evolved to when you got to Jedi Outcast, and of course, once you have people with Jedi powers, you know, the number one thing that you want to do is be able to choose the path of dark or the path of light, right? Or rather, fall to the dark, or you know, go to the light. And that was something I thought.
Or aspire.
Or
I was
aspire.
gonna say, actively pursue the dark.
Well, that was the thing. That's ultimately what it evolved to, right? Is
Sure.
that from Jedi Outcast, it was a mechanic where if it would record your actions in the game, and if you use certain force powers that you had access to, then it would it would make things happen in the game or make you fall to the dark side. But by the time we got to Knights of the Old Republic, it was a thing where you could kind of choose your path.
Yeah. Look, being at it, it's funny, right? Because in these games, when you're not a Jedi, it's very conventional, right? And so you can make any first-person shooter in the Star Wars universe, that's easy. As soon as you involve Jedi, oh my God, things get out of control, like really fast, right? Because most of the powers are telekinetic and power, and so you're throwing things around like rag dolls and things of that nature. All the things that game designers hate, right? Because it adds a fair amount of chaos to whatever you're doing, right? Like, and then, and this is a problem, or not necessarily a problem, but something that you have to take into consideration all the time is that film directors and screenwriters are not game designers, okay? And it's how do you simulate things that break your reality, right? Or break your game engine, right? And you have to figure out some sort of story in order to gimp a power so that it doesn't get out of control. So it's always that, how much of this can we actually simulate well, versus the story behind it, right? And it's always a delicate balance. But Dark Forces pulled it off, extremely well. And there are other Star Wars products that do the same. And yeah, it's very much that for me, it wasn't Dark Forces that really immersed me. It was TIE Fighter and X-Wing and X-Wing versus TIE Fighter. Like, I have some very fond memories of, some of the dogfights that we had, like, in the early days on computers, that, to this day, in my head at least, are some of my most vivid, like, Star Wars moments.
Is that the one that was on 15 or 20 floppy disks?
Yes, it was.
Kevin's talking about that in the chat right now.
Yeah, it was.
Which I'm too young to remember.
I mean, but those were some incredible games. I mean, first of all, you have essentially a solid flight simulator, and this is in the days when, like, Microsoft Flight Simulator was still so rudimentary polygons, right? And they also kind of pioneered that kind of combat mission structure format, right? I mean, you're talking again about both the RPGs and like the Dark Forces, and they all kind of suffered from at that time. Essentially, they were all kind of variations on rail shooters, right? Where it's like, here are the rails, and we know the player is going to want to break those rails, but we just have to figure out how to veer them back on, right? But then you have these X-Wing and TIE Fighter games where it's kind of like, okay, it's an open universe. There's stars in every which direction. You can fly anywhere you go, and TIE Fighters will chase you.
Yeah, I mean, it was, and like I said, Star Wars started a lot of that, right? Because before Star Wars, you never really had spaceships that did dogfighting.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, because no one dogfights, even nowadays, right? I mean, they see a blip on a radar, they press a button, and maybe you explode, right? I mean, no one does that kind of fighting now, and it doesn't make sense with things that are technologically that advanced, but it sure does look good.
So I remember, some of the other like some of the first attempts. Like, do you remember the Atari answer to Star Wars and Star Trek called Star Raiders?
Oh, of course.
Yeah. Okay, that was an incredible game. I mean, for the time, that was like the early 80s. And I think it was like one of the first games that I ever encountered that actually had keyboard controls, so you could actually do power management, which of course, you know, X-Wing also kind of really, you know, I love that. There's a throwaway line in the first Star Wars film where he's like, "Turn your shields to double front," and there it is. It's like they turned it into a control where it was like, okay, you can actually push all of your energy into the shields or into the engines or whatnot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, well, look, I remember being a kid, seeing the Star Wars coin out machine, right? And when you put a quarter in it, it said Red 5 standing by, and I was like, oh my god, I just want to do this. Right?
Do you think it was gonna be like the last Starfighter, where you were gonna be like sucked into the like recruited by?
Of course.
Don't you have one, Jason?
I have the arcade one up that has the original Star Wars and Empire,
Nice.
Return of the Jedi.
Nice.
Yeah, and I had the same feeling. You know, you walk up to that thing and it's like, that's yeah, but yeah.
Well, and that was also
It's a huge part of my childhood, that and Dragon's Lair, but I won't get into that.
Oh yeah.
well, and that of course with all the vector line graphics. I mean, that was like one of the first 3D video games.
Yep.
You know, that was out there for the populace.
Yeah. I mean, if you ask most people, like, there's not many people in the design or production category in gaming that doesn't have some sort of love for Star Wars. It's usually at the center of every one of our, you know, universes in some way, shape, or form. And, you know, it's good because we use it to talk to one another, you know. It's these things that, you know, people in the creative industry just, you know what Hoth is, you know what a tauntaun is, right? And that's kind of cool. And yeah, I mean, Star Wars is it's integral to you know, to my creative process, and a lot of video game you know, designers and producers and coders and whatnot all use it as common reference.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's pretty much our show. Tracy, do you have anything from the comm channels you want to share?
Oh, I mean, it's been an amazing chat tonight, and we've been kind of short on time to be able to get to a lot of it, but everybody's really hopping tonight. They're all talking about their favorite Star Wars games, Star Trek games. I mean, the whole bit. So, yeah, it would have been good to go through during the whole thing. Lots of things to say, but if we had like 10 more minutes to talk about the episode, I think we could have gotten to a lot of the comments, but that's all right. Thank you for everybody who's been participating in the chat with me.
Yeah, and thank you again for joining us here. Next week, we'll be here again at the same time, 6:30 p.m. on Monday night. We'll be talking about the Book of Boba Fett Chapter 5. We'll also have another scintillating topic for our second part of the show. And we want to see all of your Star Wars creations. Do you cosplay, make fan films, build droids, build models, sell stuff on Etsy? Show us how Star Wars has inspired you, and we just might feature you here on the show as well. So thank you for joining us here tonight. We're here on the Geekish Network every Monday night at 6:30 p.m. Right here after us is Geek Beast, so stick around for them. They are your daily nerd news rundown show where they'll bring you the latest news in the Geekverse and provide some quick takes and reactions. You can follow Geekish Network on YouTube and Facebook and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for joining us here on our new night. Also check our socials for all the other great shows here throughout the week. And thanks on the flight deck to Rodney and Mike. And we are the Pod Squadron. Please check out our content on podsquadron.com. Like and subscribe. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. For podcast subscriptions, you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or your favorite podcast app. And Travis, tell us when we can see Technubians.
Technubians is going to be back in February, Saturdays. At 1 o'clock. You know, it's going to be great. We're thinking of some cool news segments and things of that nature. We should have some of you people on Technubians.
Yeah, absolutely. And once again, I am the Chinese Pirate at Chinese Pirate _ on all platforms.
I am Tracy, Hot Nerd Girl on Facebook, Hot Nerd Girl Official on Instagram, hot_nerd_girl on Twitter. Thank you, everybody, for joining.
Feral Geek. Someday I may figure out my mic, but until then, you can find me at Feral Geek Aesthetic on Instagram, and sometimes I post things. It's really exciting.
Jason, beyondforever.net and Beyond Forever Studios everywhere else.
All wings return to base. Scores slayed in, and prepare to make the jump to lightspeed on my mark. And remember, the truths we cling to depend on our own point of view. Only the Sith deal in absolutes. Good night, everyone.
The Sith.
Bye. I have to pee.